So hi everyone and welcome to this tutorial on doing car skins for rFactor 2. So a couple of things you'll need first is to install the DDS plugin that's from nVidia. See the link in the description, and also you'll need the template file, which you can usually find with the mod or download from the internet. So the first thing to do is paint the car. You'll see there's a layer at the bottom called shape 1 in this instance, but it's sometimes called paint. Click on it, blending options, and then color overlay, at which point you can select your color from the palette, or if you've got a sample you can use the dropper tool. I'm not going to do a full tutorial on actually making these skins, just going to show you the basics and let you figure it out for yourself. I might do a more advanced one at another time, but let's just show you how to get started. Okay, so we've got the colour of the car. So let's add a logo to it. So we use place linked. Select a picture file to use as a logo. I downloaded these from the internet, so we're going to use the NHS logo in this instance because we're showing our support in this championship that we're putting together. So place your logo where you want it on the car, and then if you want to rescale it or rotate it, you can go to edit, transform and scale. Drag the handles for the size. Place again. Okay, to duplicate it for the other side door, just click on the layer, duplicate layer, and it'll create an exact copy over the top, which you can then move into position. And in this instance we want it rotated, so edit, transform, and rotate 180 degrees. So in this particular mod, the BTCC one, and for what we're doing at the moment, we need to turn off all the championship logos because we're not allowed to use them. And like I say, because we're showing our support to the NHS, we're going to put NHS logos in place of the championship ones. So front, where the front number plate would be and where the rear number plate would be. So just to remind you, you use file, place linked. And the thing with using place linked means that if you then edit the picture, you know, change the color, change the background or whatever, it will update in the skin as well. So resize and drag it into position. And because we want the same size one again, we can duplicate that layer and move it over and put it in place of the rear number plate. So that, obviously you can keep going with that and create the logo that the design that you want. I'll just show you how we put stripes on. Just use the rectangle tool, choose a colour and draw a stripe over the top of the car. Obviously reposition it and we can resize it. Change the colour to red there. and if we want to make it bigger, just transform and scale, and we can drag it down over the front of the car, down the front bumper, and we can make it wider. As you can see, because of the position of the layer, it's now blanked out the NHS logo on the front. So we simply get hold of the layer and drag it down, and such that it's below all the logos that we want to appear on top of it. Just going to change the position of the logo on the front slightly, and if you want to move it gently, accurately, use the arrow key. You have to have the position icon pressed, obviously, to change its position. So at the top here you'll see a group of layers that's labelled DX11. And just something to note here, these are a couple of layer effects that tone down the white and stop it blooming and creating a milky chromy effect over the top. So these DX11 layers must be at the top or towards the top after all of your logos and all your colour. You can see here there's a wireframe layer and a shadow map layer. Now the shadow map layer must be turned on and the wireframe must be turned off before you save it. The wireframe's just there as a guide so that you can see where the car is. Okay, so in some tutorials they tell you to flatten the image at this point, which basically discards all layers and makes it, one picture with no layers in. I've been having some issues since, like recently, with like a milky, chromy appearance and a lack of shadow, and it appears that you shouldn't be flattening the image in the newer versions of rFactor 2, the DX11 version. So just simply go File and Save As. Oops. Before we do that, I'll just take you over which areas of the car are what on this so you understand. So we've got the wing here, which is the upper surface and the lower surface. That's the wing end plates outer and the wing end plates inner. Obviously this side and roof of the car, sort of obvious. And then the front wings and front bumper are all in one. Okay, so now we go File, Save As, DDS. You'll only get this once you've installed the nVidia DDS plugin. Now it's important for the way that we're going to teach you to put these into the game in the next video that you have the word alt in the file name. So in this case we're going to call it driver_alt. Save. I shall give you the format to save it in the description, so check the description for that. And that's it, we're done. And that is the main body template. So next, let's move on to the windows. So there's a separate template file called for the windows. In this instance, Ford RS window. And there you go. So all you've got to do is find the layers with the numbers on, change them to your number. So when it comes up dull like that, there's an opacity problem. So you'll see the option there up in the corner to change the opacity. It's currently at 10%, so let's move that up to 100%. and then we add in our driver name. Again, make sure the DX11 layers are at the top and turn off the windscreen edges and the wireframe layer. And then we can do File, Save As, DDS. So you want the setting, so in this case you need to have the driver alt file name like you did before, and then capitalized with no spaces and no underscore afterwards, the word window. These are the naming conventions that the game will only allow you to use. Okay, so you want to make sure that you've saved that as DDS. And that's it done. And then there's one last thing that you need to edit and save, and that's the nameplate. So there's a template called Nameplate Extra 6. And you find the layer with the vehicle and change it to the vehicle that you're going to be using, in this case a Ford, and then put your driver name in. Oops. That's your surname. And that's that done. Simple. File, save as again. This time you must keep the same naming convention. So your name underscore alt, and then capitalized extra 6, no spaces, no underscores or anything. That's it. And job done. So they're the 3 files that you need to package